Alright. What should I talk about? Okay. I think there's a big misconception going around about happiness. And there's also a big expectation going around about happiness, about that doesn't really have a solution. So I need to talk about this. Not that I'm like the guy that does this. I don't have any like personality online yet. I don't have an at this point, I literally, never mind. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm thinking. I think a lot of people think that happiness comes from possessions or desires being fulfilled. And to an extent, yes, it does. That does happen. That's real. But happiness comes from happiness comes from more than that. A lot of media will tell you, especially if they want you to buy something, corporations or advertisers or just people, honestly, will say that what you need is this thing to make you happy. If you have this, you'll be happy. And I know you as the viewer already know where I'm going with this. You'd be like, oh, you're going to say that happiness isn't this thing that can be bought or sold. It's created by oneself. And that's super true. I truly believe that. I think that joy, but I don't characterize it as happiness anymore. When your situations suck and you're still happy, you're not happy, you're joyful. There's a difference. I think happiness is this fleeting sort of emotion that you feel when you're having a good time. Joy is the ability to perpetuate happiness in all scenarios. So, being a happy person means that you're happy at some time. Being a joyful person means that you're happy regardless of the time. Okay, now that we have that down. Joy, as a conception. A lot of things people think about joy are wrong, in my opinion. And obviously, I can't necessarily say that things are all wrong or all right or anything. There's different beliefs. But according to mine, when you are joyful, you're doing two things. You're being grateful and you're reflecting. To be grateful is to reflect in a sense. But you have some sorts of optimism / positivity to it. It's not as simple as just being like, yo, it's not as simple as just being like, oh, I'm happy. Because if you don't take the time to appreciate something, then you're not truly happy about it. My point being, you have to be appreciative to be joyful. Okay, there we go. Point number one. The misconception about joy, though, is that it's just like achieved, or it's just like a person has it. That's not true. Well, it is true in that some people are like born a little more joyful or born a little more like optimistic. That is something that is definitely happens and isn't like wrong or right, or it just happens. That's something. But the big misconception here is when people think that those optimistic people are just the only people that are optimistic are the people that are naturally optimistic. And that's not true. When you want to be like, when you want anything to do with your mind, it is so possible to just change your mind. And it sounds like, what? How do you do that? You can change your mind on pretty much every single thing. You know those like big character story arcs in like shows where the character suddenly like changes from good to evil, or like evil to good or something like that, or they change their mind on a subject because they had an experience? That's us too. There's a reason why humans relate to movies like that, and it's not just because they have like likable characters. The reason is because characters change over time. There's a good example, Sokka in Avatar. He's like very sexist at the beginning of the show, and he's this like water tribe warrior, and he goes to another land, and he's like, why are women fighting? Like, what is this? And he's like, women can't fight. Let me show him how it's done. And then he gets completely wiped by this one girl. It's not even close. And he's like, oh man, that's just completely embarrassing. I have to change my mind. But what you don't realize is that that's doable without doing like a cross-continental meetup with a martial arts girl, that sort of thing. Your opinions and motives and things you care about can change. And it's pretty simple to do this. It's just takes a little bit of discipline and a little bit of care. So I will tell you. Number one, in order to have this sort of like perpetuating joyfulness or whatever trait you want to instill in yourself, it's important that you take time. Everything takes time, but I don't think everybody realizes that it takes time. It takes time to change your mind on things. So, let's say, for instance, you want to stop viewing the world as such a negative place. You don't want to be a pessimist anymore. You don't want to see the glass half empty. And when you go to work, you don't want to see it as a burden anymore. You want to see it as an opportunity. Okay, step one, how do you do that? This is just for the sake of an example. Step one will always be to reframe your thinking. Okay? So that basically means that you go into the day, and I think it's important that you take some time to like go actually do some thought into like what you want and what your scenario is and what you can be grateful for. So reframe your mind in this specific scenario towards gratitude, but in another scenario it can be like towards observation or to what I'm not seeing, or if you're like, I don't know, you want to be more attentive to people, you got to reframe your mind to be like, okay, I want to be more attentive, so I'm going to make it my motive today to be that. You have to first set that like frame, or I guess you have to set the expectation to be something. That's step one. It can be in the morning or like whenever you start this, like day one, whatever. At the beginning of something, maybe it's the beginning of your work day, which starts a little later. Before like a challenging moment, you have to set your goal. And set your goal as a whole. So like in the next few months, this is your wider goal. And you can divide your goals up. So you have like a wider goal for a year, then like a quarter of the year, and then you have one for this week, and then you have one for today. So what's your goal today? Okay. So happiness example, I don't want to complain today. I want to be positive. Set that goal. Today, I don't want to complain a single time. Now the thing is, by just setting this goal, you have already improved. You've already done better because you are being intentional about what you're doing by just setting the goal. And number 2, to follow up with the goal becomes so much easier because you have a measurable or like definable goal that you're working towards. So you'd be like, I complained once today. I feel a little bit bad about it. That's okay. And you can measure that. You can be like, okay, I complained once. Let's try and do 0 times tomorrow and like count. And you can make progress and like it sounds dumb, but maybe just put like a pen in your pocket and write down, literally on your arm, be like, okay, I did it once today. And then so that you can monitor the actual issue. Interesting. Next. The next like step in this process. The next step is to actually be intentional. Not necessarily to like catch what you're doing every time or like break out of a bad habit, but to like take something that you want and then actually set your intention and your like put a plan in place, I should say, to actually execute. So back with that example, I think I write on my arm all the time. I think it's so helpful. It's like a whiteboard because I'm white. And so I'll write things that like I need to do or like reminders. So like if you want to set the intention, like I'm not going to have a bad time today. I want to be happy today. And like I want to be joyful. So you write down, or I'm going to keep it consistent. I want to be more positive. So I want to complain less. That's your motive today. And you broke that up in your plan. The actual planning part of this is like what I actually need to do to achieve my goal. So for planning something like being less negative, I would say like stop complaining. Write that on your arm. Then you're being more disciplined and motivated about what you want because it's feasible, it's tangible, it is down on somewhere you can observe at pretty much all the time. Or write it on your finger if you want to be a little more discreet. Or write it somewhere. Just have it somewhere you can see. Or don't even write it. Like just like put it in as your home screen on your phone. Somewhere you're gonna look or hear or smell, I don't know, some way you know that this thing happens. Like when I see this, I need to do this. And so you do that. Do that. Put it on your arm. Then the next step, I guess, is like discipline. Can I be disciplined enough to actually execute what I have to do? And this is important because it's not just like discipline is like this obscure thing. I think a lot of people are like, oh, just do it. Be disciplined. And a lot of people don't acknowledge that so much of discipline is based on genetics and like how you were raised and that sort of thing. And that's fair. Like it's not easy to track. You may be naturally inclined to be a little bit less disciplined, a little, not even lazy, just like less disciplined. And that's okay. That's cool. That's like good, even. That. So you wanna like when you get to this point where you have written it on your arm, and then you're in that decision. This is pretty important with the discipline. You want to actually fight the negative thought. Like wrestle it in your mind. It sounds kind of dumb, it sounds kind of weird, and like it wouldn't work, but it does. being like actually resisting the thought is important. Just to be like in your mind like, oh, this guy's such an idiot, and you like actually think that, and don't like stop it. Be like, this guy is blank, and then force your mind to like blank. Be like, I don't know, just I don't know, make random noises, do something. Don't let that thought complete itself. If you do, it's okay, and that's when the next step comes in. Don't let yourself complete the thought. Step 4, instead, you replace the thought. This is how it's done. So if you're gonna say this guy's an idiot, because he cut you off in traffic, firstly, you have to remove the judgment. You have to say, I don't know how I feel about this. I feel angry, but it's okay, or something like that. Or like, this is cool, I'm okay with this. Or you could be, if somebody cuts you off and it's like pretty severe, just be like, I'm glad I didn't die. Great. Don't mention the negative thing at all. Don't mention the thing you're trying to avoid, because that's the most important part. If you start mentioning that you want something gone away with or done, then you're wasting your time. Because then it's just like, why am I going to sit here complaining about all this junk when I could spend my time living, or like, not even complaining, just anything. If you spend your time doing something unwise, it's going to bite back. It's not going to be pleasant. That's how you reshape your mind. And this is gets back to my point at the very beginning. When you want to be more joyful, you just follow that process. It's pretty simple. Step 1, like frame. So put what you want, your goals. 2, plan. How am I going to actually execute this today? What am I going to write down? What am I going to feel? 3, resist the thoughts, or like change, slightly alter them or something like that. Then 4, do the correct response. And this is something important that I didn't mention earlier. Repeat it. Because if you don't repeat it, then what's the point there? You're not really going to get very much if you don't repeat anything. That doesn't just go with this, that goes with all things. But if you want to accomplish virtually anything, you're going to have to repeat something to get good at whatever you're doing. Yeah, a little bit of a shorter video for you guys today. I'm just coming up to a light here. But yeah, if you wanna, oh shoot, plastic bag falling from the interstate. That is scary stuff. Yeah, those are my 2 cents on joyfulness. Don't get mixed up in the negativity spiral. It's not important.